I gotta ask about another guy who's kind of expected to make that big leap, and I know he's your guy. Is there any potential that a Jaylen Nowell contract gets hammered out during the season, or is that most likely an off-season discussion or free agency?
Yeah, Chris, the latter. I mean,
Right.
they tried. So in June, I've said this, so I have no problem spewing it right now. They offered Jaylen 3 years, 9 million. So going back to June, 3 years, 9 million. That was turned down. The Wolves then said, okay, we'll add another year. We'll bump up the money ever so slightly. Here's a 4-year offer, $13 million. He said no. And it wasn't a hard decision for him to say no. And since then, there hasn't been any dialogue. So no, could something change at some point? Snap of the finger? Sure. I mean, I guess a new phone call happens, a new text message re-energizes talks, but there's nothing moving on that front. And if I'm Jaylen Nowell, I'm okay hitting unrestricted free agency next summer. Like, he knows he's going to play more minutes. He knows that many more teams in the league will have cap space next summer compared to this previous summer. Like, he can get paid, right? In fact, I believe one of the teams, you guys would know better than I would maybe with who's got the cap space, but does Gerson and the Knicks, do they have cap space, or at least the mid-level exception?
I don't know, Darren. I couldn't tell you. I don't follow the Knicks too close.
They may. I mean, I'm just saying, that's one guy in the league, right? Gerson in the Knicks front office, who had his fingerprints all over the Donovan Mitchell trade talks with Utah before,
Right.
Utah ultimately traded him to Cleveland, right?
Mhm.
But like Gerson, they're in New York, like he's in the ear of Leon Rhodes, right? And Gerson is a fan of Jaylen Nowell. That's not breaking news. He drafted the guy, right? He was always a big believer in Jaylen Nowell. Gerson, his issue wasn't, having an eye for talent, right? Like,
No.
we know what some, but he knows how to identify talent. He identified him, maybe not, Jared Culver, but he did identify everybody's got, right?
Yeah.
So nobody bats 1,000, right? Even the best executives have draft picks they'd like to have back. And remember, Darius Garland was his guy, and Darius Garland has turned out to be really, really good. He just didn't think Cleveland, which maybe he should have thought, but he didn't think Cleveland was going to pull the trigger on Garland at pick 5. So the idea was not to take Jared Culver, but he did. And Culver ended up, failing miserably, although great kid. I'm rooting for him to do something, at least sticking. I believe he signed a 2-way with Atlanta. Yep. He's with the Hawks. So I hope he flourishes. I hope a change of scenery really does him well, even though Memphis didn't really do him well. But like Gerson identified Jaylen, loves Jaylen, right? That would just be one team. But there's going to be 7, 8, 9, 10 teams with pretty solid cap space. Teams are always looking for shooting. Teams are always looking for wing help, right? It's not always the toughest to find a point guard or, a 4/5 man, but like wings, teams are always looking for wings, and certainly shooters. And I get it. Like, Jaylen's got his warts, right? Like, he's not a good defensive player. I still think there's growth there. I talk about Anthony taking some steps forward defensively. Jaylen certainly has the athleticism too, right? But yeah, he's an A+ guy. I'll always root for him. And frankly, based on the way the Wolves valued him this summer, and I get it, they need to see more, but like, I'm almost rooting for my guy Jaylen to flourish elsewhere. Flourish this year for the Wolves, help the Wolves prosper greatly, hopefully get to at least the second round of the playoffs. But then after that, cash out, go somewhere else come July.